So this cute bull calf was just born last night, and I'll be leaving him here with our fresh cow pen together with his mom for his entire pre-wean period. And in this video I want to talk a little bit more about some of the pros and cons of leaving calves with their mom. Welcome to another video of a farmer who loves his animals. So the first and most obvious benefit is that you don't have to separate the baby from his mom. They get to express their natural behaviors and lick each other and care for each other, and the calf gets to drink from his mom. So that's the most obvious benefit. So the second obvious benefit is that leaving calves with their mom will improve public perception. There's a bit of negativity around the reasons why farmers have to separate their calves from their mom, and the farmers do it for the benefit of the calves, for the health benefits of the calves. If they were to leave them with their mom all year round, then all the calves would get sicker and there'd be a far higher death rate. So they do it basically for ethical reasons, and it's a little hard to understand for the public, because also for ethical reasons they feel that it would be better if the mom and the calves could stay together. But if this was able to scale up, and that's a big if, right now I'm only doing it on a relatively small scale and only for a very specific period of the year. But if it is able to scale it up, it'll definitely very much improve the public perception of the dairy industry. So a third benefit of leaving the calves with their mom is that they get a drink as often as they like and as much as they like. So obviously that improves their growth rates and makes them stronger, healthier calves. And then the fifth reason, or fifth benefit, which I actually found somewhat surprising, is that I actually have less scours, or diarrhea that is, in our calves than when they're in their calf hutches. And the scours that they do get, they get over on their own. I actually don't intervene in any way, shape, or form, because one of the best things you can do for a calf who gets scours is to feed them small amounts through several feedings during the day. And that's exactly what happens when the calf is together with his mom. And I think a possible reason for, and this is more of a hypothesis of why the calves are healthier and have less scours, is cows will actually produce bacteria in their milk, humans too that is. They'll create the bacteria, or bring the bacteria into their milk and the antibodies into their milk that will help heal any sort of sickness the calf has. So based on the saliva that the calf leaves on the cow's nipple, the cow then uses that bacteria population as an indication of what sort of bacteria and what sort of antibodies it needs to put in the milk. It's pretty fascinating actually, how Mother Nature has such a good mechanism for keeping healthy calves. So the last major benefit that I wanted to touch on is the labor savings. So obviously when the calf's drinking on his mom, you don't got to feed the calf, which saves a fair bit of labor. But the most dramatic labor savings I find is actually in training the calves to drink. Usually if you feed a calf with a bottle, you have to first train the calf to drink the milk out of the bottle, which could take 2-3 days. And when I just leave them with their mom, I feed them the first feeding, the colostrum, just to make sure that they got that antibody from that colostrum. But after that, the calf figures it out on his own, and I don't have to train it for those first several days. Because yeah, you have to hold the bottle for that calf for that entire feeding while you're training it, and that's a lot of time. So I found that to be the most dramatic or labor savings then within training. It's not all that surprising. There also are some very significant downsides to leaving calves with their mom. A lot of those reasons are why it's actually not typically done. And obviously, even if I am able to scale it up, leaving calves with their mom will never be a system that will fit for every farmer. And one of the main barriers to a potential scaled-up system like this is that you would have to build and design a facility specifically for that purpose. So it would take a huge investment where you would need a big straw pack where you can have fresh cows and their calves living in together, and specific ventilation systems where they're able to keep the calves healthy even during the winter months. So that brings me to the second negative point is the reason why you need such a specialized ventilation system is because the main reason why calves get sick when they're left with their mom is because of pneumonia. The barns for the moms that are designed specifically for the cows don't necessarily, they're not designed for the calves. So a barn where cows thrive, calves get sick in. But that doesn't have to be the case, in my opinion that is, as far as what I've seen here. When the air quality is excellent, like I keep the calves with their mom during the summer months because all the curtains are wide open. Right now, the fans are turning, and there's a crazy amount of fresh air in our barn. And I find when there's lots of fresh air, the calves don't actually get pneumonia, even when they are together with their mom. So in order to continue that all year round, basically what would have to happen is that you have to have amazing air quality even during the winter months. So that would mean having a barn that you allow to freeze. Basically you don't keep the barn warm so that and I'm here in Canada, so it actually gets quite cold. But the barn has to be almost, or basically just as cold inside the barn as it is outside the barn, just so you have enough air circulation, have enough air quality that it doesn't build up bacteria and moisture in the air, and then have that environment where calves get pneumonia. And that brings on all sorts of challenges as well, because water lines freezing and manure freezing on the ground, and basically the enjoyment of the work, because you have to work in freezing conditions instead of a warm barn. So that brings on all sorts of challenges too, but that's what would be necessary for scaling up a system where calves can stay with their mom no matter what time of the year it is. So then a third challenge when leaving calves with their mom is weaning. Last year I ended up just grabbing the calves from the cows and then putting in the group hutch and then wean them in the group hutch. And that didn't work well at all. I was not too impressed because I had to train 1.5-month-old calves to drink from the bottle, and that was a nightmare because they're much bigger, stronger, and more set in their ways. So that didn't go over very well. And I found that the whole process for the calves was much too stressful, and a main goal when weaning calves is to minimize the amount of stress. That way, if they're not stressed throughout the whole period, then they don't get sick the same way, because stress hormones, they depress the immunity and stuff like that. So to have a successful weaning period, you have to minimize the amount of stress, and that definitely did not happen with those groups from last year. It all turned out okay. They ended up being pretty healthy, but I want to figure out something a little bit better. So this year what I'm going to try to do, or what I am doing actually, is I have a separate pen here together with our fresh cows. And these are the calves that are in the process of weaning off right now. And so far they seem to be doing much, much better. They're not bawling, and they just don't seem to be as distraught as they were last year. I got a big bucket in here where was feeding water, now feeding water and milk in there, now that they no longer have access to their mothers. So they were already drinking water out of the water bucket from the fresh cows. So they already knew how to drink out of a bucket. So I didn't have to train them how to drink milk out of the bucket, so that didn't cause any stress. And then they're also getting the same feed that they're used to eating, the same feed that fresh cows get. That's what they're getting in their pen too. And then the calf starter. So basically the transition from having full access to their mothers to now still having access to their mothers but not having access to their mother's milk it's a much smaller transition, and the calves can be doing really well. They're not stressed out at all. So that negative part is taken care of, I suppose. But once again, you have to have proper facilities where you can have calves, separate pens of calves together with the fresh cows. And then the fourth major negative to leaving the calves with their mom, I think, is well, I'm not sure if it's true because I'm not doing it on a large enough scale, but I fear that there will be a much higher risk for mastitis. So typically what happens is whenever a cow gets milked in a robot, or if they were milked in a parlor situation, the teat canal's open, the milk comes out, and then at the end of the milking they get a post-it or some sort of disinfectant on the teats that keeps the teats clean and disinfected, and then over the next several minutes the teat canal slowly close. And then while the teats are open, the disinfectant prevents mastitis infection, and then later on the teat canals being closed is what prevents further mastitis infection. But with calves, together with their moms, the calves drink countless times during the day, and those teat canals are consistently open all the time. So they're open way more often during the day, and after every episode of drinking, I suppose, there's no disinfectant placed on the teats while they're closing. I think there's some antimicrobial properties to the calf's saliva, but obviously it's way less potent than something like iodine or chlorhexidine, which is a product that we use. And again, I haven't done it on a large enough scale to really notice that risk, but it's something that I fear would happen. So if I were to build a facility specifically for calves and cows together in the future, what I would do to help prevent that problem is, instead of doing what we do right now, where we just kind of build up the pack, where the cows get dirty and we just put a new layer of clean straw on top, I would do something that referred to like a compost pack. And what a compost pack is like you add material, dry, clean material to the pack when it gets dirty, or dirty or too wet. But then twice a day you have to go through with a cultivator and aerate the pack. So you introduce air in with the material, the dry material and the manure, and what that does, that air starts a compost process, and that composting allows for a healthier bacterial population. Aerobic bacteria are not the ones that cause mastitis, it's the anaerobic bacteria that cause mastitis. So that's something that I would do as well, just to prevent that negative or potential negative part of leaving them together. So the last challenge of leaving the calves together with their mom is something that I don't really have a potential solution for yet, and that challenge is biosecurity. Basically, when you separate the different life stages of the animals, and then one of those life stages, which is usually the adult cows, have get a sickness or dysentery or something like that, some sort of disease spreading through the herd, you can prevent it from spreading through your entire herd because they're separated in different parts of the barn or in separate barns altogether. And if you have the calves together with the mom, obviously that's not possible. So then whenever there's a disease, it literally goes through the entire herd. One thing that I'm really concerned about is dysentery. It's something that basically it's diarrhea caused by bacteria, and we might get it usually during the winter time, maybe once every other year. And then basically all the cows, one group after another, they start getting a little depressed and tired, and they get the runs. and then after a week or so, each cow gets better, and that kind of makes its way through the herd, each group taking about at least a week to get over it. And there's usually a big dip in milk production, and they feel pretty crappy. And usually our cows never really get affected by it, because they're out in their hutches or they're in a separate barn, and they don't get dysentery the same way. So yeah, that's it. So as far as I can tell, those are the major pros and cons to leaving calves with their mom. There's going to be some serious challenges to making it work, and I don't pretend to have all the answers. It's just something I'm experimenting with, and I'm hoping eventually someday I'll be able to scale it up to do with all of our cows. But I'm under no illusions that it's something that all farmers will be able to do now or ever. But and I'm also not saying that this is the best way or the only way. It's just another way, and it's something that brings me a lot of joy. Seeing the calves with their mom makes me pretty happy whenever I see them frolicking together and running around in the pen and hanging out together, and I really enjoy it. And so I'll be doing it even if that's ever the only possible benefit of keeping them together. But we'll see what happens anyway. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below if you think of anything else that I missed as far as challenges or benefits. So that's it for this video. Be sure to follow my journey while I make more YouTube videos on different ways that I try to improve animal welfare.